And I can call roll first.
Oh, certainly. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Mr. McNulty.
Here.
Mr. Lavilla. Here. Mr. Dar.
Here.
Mr. Puckett. Here. Mr. Garcia.
Here.
Sorry. Thank you. Well, do we have any nominations for chairperson?
You. I second that.
Motion to nominate Mr. McNulty for chair for 2026. All in favor, Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Mr. Lavilla? Ms. Sundar?
Yes.
Mr. Puckett? Yes. Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
We will need a vice chair also.
I'd like to nominate myself for vice chair.
Perfect. I second that.
Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Mr. Lavilla?
Yes.
Ms. Sundar?
Yes.
Mr. Puckett?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Perfect. We're ready to start this. And would you like to do your presentation for this? Because I know you've been here before.
Yeah, I was planning to. I didn't know if Robin was going to read the staff
Go ahead,
report.
Ron, the staff report.
Sure.
Yep. Because we have staff report and regional planning and.
All right, thank you, Mr. McNulty. So I'll catch us up on where we are. So we are here for rezoning case ZON-25-07 for a property located at 6980 South Old State Road. The applicant is Real Property Design and Development. We're talking 8.34 acres plus or minus. Current zoning is farm residential, or FR1. The request is to rezone that acreage to a single-family plan residential district, or SFPRD, for 21 single-family residential homes. Again, that total number is 21. The existing home on the property would remain, and the other 20 homes would be new construction. The initial development plan proposed by the applicant called for 24 total homes. The applicant then requested to table the application in October of last year and has submitted a new development plan within the SFPRD zone. In terms of the surrounding area, to the north and to the south is farm residential properties, as well as SFPRD properties in Summerfield Village. To the east is South Old State Road. Then to the west is also SFPRD, which is HOA open space owned by the Summerfield Village Association. On the following page there, you can see the aerial photograph. The two parcels in question are highlighted in yellow. In terms of the comprehensive plan, parcels are located in sub-area 10 of the 2018 land use plan. Recommendation 10-1 states that large lots of 1 acre or more fronting on Orange, Loomis Center, and South Old State Road, while recommendation 10-3 reads infill remaining lands with planned developments at 2 units per acre if served by centralized sanitary sewer. On the following page, you can see the updated site plan proposed by the applicant. We'll have a larger version of this, which we'll throw up on the TV after the staff report and applicant presentation. So briefly running through the statistics. So density and unit count, again, the proposals for 21 total homes, 20 of which would be newly constructed. The gross density of the project is 2.5 units per acre, which does exceed the maximum of 2 units per acre in the SFPRD, thus requiring any diversions from that section of the code. Open space would comply with the standards. Open space area is listed at 20.8%. SFPRD minimum is 20%, so it does meet that standard. Minimum floor area, minimum building square footage is proposed to be at 1,500 square feet, which exceeds the SFPRD requirement of 1,000 square feet. Mobile homes are not permitted. Landscaping, similar to last time in terms of the planting list, we do note that tree preservation zones have been added along the southeast corner of the site as well as the northern property line to provide some additional buffering and preserving existing trees. And then a buffer of landscaping and mounding has been added to the southwest corner of the site since the previous development plan was submitted. In terms of amenities, entry feature and signs proposed near the entrance to South Old State Road, and a neighborhood park with top lot and benches is proposed for Reserve C at the northwest corner of the development. In terms of the development standards, in terms of lots and setbacks, so divergences are requested for minimum lot depth and width. The development text proposes a lot width of 70 feet. The SFPRD standard is 75 feet. The lot depth is 120 feet. SFPRD standard is 135 feet. Divergences are also requested for the side yard setbacks, which would be 10 feet, which means 20 feet total between buildings, as compared to the SFPRD standard of 12.5 feet setback, which would be 25 feet between buildings. Front setback would be 30 feet, rear setback would be 35 feet. Those do both comply with the SFPRD standards. So again, we're down to 4 divergences. First, for the intensity of use or density to allow for 2.5 units per acre rather than 2. The second for lot width for 75 feet instead of 70, or excuse me, 70 feet instead of 75. The third for lot depth for 120 feet instead of 135. And then the fourth for the side yard setback for 10 feet instead of 4.5 feet. We do know that the development is still compliant with section 21.03 structure separation, which requires a 15-foot separation between buildings, so that would be met with a 20-foot separation. In terms of other staff comments, we do want to note that the Orange Township trustees approved the zoning resolution update, which took effect March 5th, which was last week. However, because this rezoning request is for the SFPRD, these are the standards that apply to this application and not necessarily the standards in the new zoning resolution. Along with that, we note that the density approved in the neighborhood zone, which is a straight district in the newly approved zoning resolution, that density is at 2.5 units per acre. However, the SFPRD standard in this district remains at 2.0 units per acre. Only other comment was that the operations department recommends that no parking signs be installed around the cul-de-sac. In terms of review from other agencies, at the time of writing, the site layout had not been submitted to the Orange Township Fire Department. It would need to be reviewed and approved by the fire department prior to approval of the rezoning by the trustees, not necessarily this commission, but the trustees. And so if the zoning commission does choose to move forward with a recommendation of approval tonight, we would recommend that one of those recommendations be approval of the site plan by the fire department. So that is included in a possible list of modifications. The Delaware County Regional Planning Commission voted to recommend denial of the rezoning request at their meeting on February 26, 2026. RPC staff noted in their recommendation to the full RPC body that denial was recommended, quote unquote, based on the proposed density being higher than recommended in the comprehensive plan. Staff recommends approval of the single family use at a lower density. Should the zoning commission and trustees choose to approve the project, that's RPC staff, has no significant concerns with the dimensional differences. That's all I have for the staff report at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
In terms of the side yard setbacks, there is no change. I apologize for my sore throat because of the pollen allergies. There is no change from previous zoning to this zoning, right? The side yard setback. We are talking about 10 feet versus 20 feet versus 25 feet.
In terms of the previous submission of this plan, I don't recall off the top of my head what the previous version was. It was 15 feet.
Oh, okay. In terms of zoning, the new comprehensive plan versus previous comprehensive plan.
So the comprehensive plan remains the same. It's the zoning code which has switched. But again, because that was approved by the trustees, this request is still going in under the old district, which is SFPRD. So those are the standards that were governed by.
If you were to apply the new standards, would the divergent the side yard setback divergence still be needed?
So if you look at the neighborhood zone, which is, again, it's a straight district, so it's a little bit different than the single-family planned residential district, which is a planned district with a development plan attached to it. That side yard setback would be different. That side yard setback in the neighborhood zone is 12.5 feet instead of the proposed 10 feet
Okay, so still diligence will be needed. Okay.
Sorry, Ron, I guess I'm unclear why the divergence would be needed, because this neighborhood is still part of all those other neighborhoods in the vicinity that are 12.5 feet, correct? I guess I'm unclear about the neighborhood zone versus,
Yeah, and I wouldn't try to get too hung up on the neighborhood zone itself, since that's not the zone that's being requested here. But the standard of the neighborhood zone is a 12.5 foot side yard setback. This request is for a different zone, so if you want to compare it, you can, but per the text, the requirement in SFPRD is 12.5 feet. The request from the applicant is to reduce that to 10 feet.
now, I get that, and I also understand. I'm trying to wrap my head around why regional planning would recommend denial for the density. Because regional planning typically does a well thought out process and that doesn't reach too far. I guess I'm trying to wrap, you have any ideas why they may have done that?
Well, I can't necessarily speak for the commission. I would, and that's why I tried to quote staff's, direct words in our own staff report, is that they recommended that based on the density. And I think they made it fairly clear that at least regional planning staff was not necessarily concerned with the dimensional divergences.
Right.
So they didn't point out, the side yard setback,
Right.
lot width, but based on Orange Township having a comprehensive plan that says 2 units per acre, which is the 2018 comprehensive plan, which is separate from the zoning code, they recommended their denial.
They're aware of the new zoning code, I'm sure.
They are.
Okay, that's up to us to make a decision as to which direction we go.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, you want like to do your presentation here? Would love to.
Yes, sir.
I have just one quick question. So based on, continuing to Mr. McCarthy conversation about the denial from the Regional Planning Commission, do we have an option to, I understand you cannot speak for them, for Planning Commission. Do we have an option to reach them out about our views and ask their suggestions? Is that allowed?
No. The recommendation is the recommendation. And again, it's kind of an order of operations where regional planning staff makes a recommendation to the full regional planning commission, which consists of representatives from municipalities around Delaware County. They held a meeting and the full commission voted to recommend denial. That is the recommendation. Excuse me, that is the recommendation that you
From
should
the
make.
Planning Commission, the Regional Planning Commission. Okay. Thank you.
You're up.
Okay. Well, good evening. My name is John Wicks, Real Property Design and Development. I see some new faces up here. I've not met before. So welcome to Orange Township. I've been a resident here for 18 years. I've done a couple developments here in Orange Township and surrounding Delaware County townships. I'm glad to be back and present, as Robin mentioned, I was here back in October to present a different plan. And we kind of based the design on that based on the draft of the new zoning code, understanding that it had some different dimensional criteria and recommendations. Since then, that draft has changed. Obviously, they've changed that from 3.0 units to the acre to 2.5 for the standard district. So in accordance with those changes and with some meetings that I held with residents in the area, I made the changes to my plan, which is what you have before you now. I reached out to the Summerfield Village Homeowner Association. That's the development immediately to the south. You can see the cul-de-sac with some lots that are just south of my development there. And I set up a meeting at the library, and several HOA members and some residents came and met me there, and we walked through the plans, the changes that I was planning to make. I also met with my neighbor to the north. The guy asked me lives just immediately north, and his house would be just north of my new entry drive there. So I had private meetings with those folks. And at those meetings, I committed to make several plan changes, which I included in my submission to you, but I'll go through them here real quick. Number one, to reduce the number of new homes to 20. Number two, to increase the minimum lot width to 70. I think originally I had 60 and 65-foot lots. Number three was to increase the rear yard building setback to 35 feet. Originally I had requested 30, which happens to be the standard now in the new zoning code. But I committed to leaving it at 35 feet for this application. Committed to number four, provide mounting and additional landscaping behind the homes on Chicory Court, which you can see there on the, oh, can you put the landscape plan up, Robert?
Page 42, Eric, I believe.
Okay.
Not too far. We'll probably have to rotate.
So a lot of these were just based on their personal issues with privacy and, you know, the fact that it's a new development coming in on an area that's previously just been grass and trees.
Yeah.
So, you know, I wanted to meet with them. I wanted to be a good neighbor. I wanted to understand what their concerns were. And in that meeting, we developed what you see here with a row of densely planted pine trees or spruce trees on some mounding. And then I also committed to, and this would be up to the homeowner association, that I would actually install a black aluminum fence in their property along the property line. I didn't want to do it on our lots because then it would be owned and maintained by each individual property owner, maybe not to the same standard. So if the HOA approves it, then I will, at my cost, install a fence on their property, maybe a foot or two south of the property lines, to establish more of a barrier there in addition to the trees and the mountains. We haven't had any further discussion on that, but that's an offer that I made at the zoning board. As Robin said, place a tree preservation zone basically around the perimeter of the site where there are mature, healthy trees. In tree preservation zones, those are two important words, healthy and mature. Mr. DeGuy asked me, does that mean you're going to take out any new saplings? If they're healthy and they're spaced appropriately and they're going to grow to be healthy trees and not cause a problem down the road, we'll leave those as well. We're not going to tear any trees out we don't need to, but we like to clean up an area that, you know, maybe the trees grew too close together or in the shade of another tree and they're just not healthy. But again, the screening is as important to us as it is to the neighbors. I would require standard fence design within all lots of hidden oaks, and so that'll just show symmetry and consistency throughout our development. So you don't have a picket fence next to a chain link fence next to a black fence. I relocated the new neighborhood park to the north side of the property. That seemed to be a pretty big deal to the residents of Somerville Village. We originally had it flipped, and it was on the south side of the cul-de-sac. And I even showed a connection of our sidewalk into the gravel path that's on the Somerville Village property. However, I came to learn that path is not Orange Township path. It's a Somerville Village maintained and owned path, and they don't want the additional traffic on it. And fully respect and understand that, so I just flipped the part and took out that connection. I committed to number 8. I committed to maintaining a minimum of 20 feet between the houses and hidden oaks. Number 9, I offered to work with the HOA to provide equipment and manpower to clean up the wooded, there's a wooded open space in Somerville Village immediately west of my cul-de-sac. It's overgrown, it's got a lot of dead trees in there, and at their direction, we provide the equipment and manpower to go in and clean up any dead trees and brush and trash that might be in there. And then number 10, I agreed to increase the screening on the north side of our entrance road up against Mr. DeGuy's property. And while we're not going to design that now, we would work with him to make sure that provides the best screening headlights into his house and that sort of thing. We really don't know what would be the right design, so we have civil engineering drawings done. We know the grades of the road and all that are going to be. But I'm committed to work with him to make sure that it provides the best screening possible. It could be a combination of mounting, trees, and fencing. So all of these commitments that I just spoke about are on the plan that you received. Now, regional planning's recommendation of denial is really important to reiterate what Robin said. It was based solely on the fact that it doesn't comply with Orange Township's existing 2018 comprehensive land use plan, which recommends 2 units to the acre. In fact, the new neighborhood zone that they just passed in the zoning text wouldn't comply with the comprehensive plan either, because it recommends 2.5 units. It's also important to mention that a lot of developments have been approved greater than 2 units to the acre over the last 10 years. And I know at one point Robin put a list together of that. I don't have that with me. But the guideline of 2.0 units to the acre and an SFPRD are a lot of times offset with additional gives, considerations within the development. For example, and this is in the comp plan appendix B4, it says, there's a line in here that says include density bonuses for residential developments when certain criteria are met. For example, green space dedication, etc. And Lisa from the is on record with the trustees stating that she agrees with that approach. In fact, she said, and unfortunately I couldn't find the date that this was said, but density bonuses such as top lots, community gathering spaces, tree preservation zones, and landscape buffers would be candidates for such bonuses, which in fact all 4 of those are on my plan. So there's a history of Orange Township approving higher density as long as there's something given back. So to answer your question, Mr. McNulty, about regional planning's kind of questioning how they came up with their denial, they stated on the record that their denial was based solely on their guidelines that require them to review applications as they relate to the comp plan. And if you happen to read the staff report that they put together, I don't know if you all provided that, but it did go into detail. Okay. They didn't have any other concerns about the plan other than the general.
After I've listened, I tend to agree. I've already made some statements that to some other folks on the board that I was not in favor of this as a density, but after I thought about that and listened to this comprehensive plan versus our zoning code, the new one, which I was part of, and we spent a lot of time working through that, which is a 2.5. I hear that, plus your comments about Lisa. Lisa and I are good friends. Lisa has been one of the biggest bugs about zoning density.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And to hear her say that and give you credit for those density bonuses, that, in my opinion, is a huge plus.
Well, and I hope I didn't misspeak. She didn't approve this.
I understand, but even the thought process that's involved in that with the zoning, with the density bonuses, and I am a believer in the new code. I know why it was written. I know it was written for the future, and that you're already meeting it. And yes, this is the comprehensive plan, which regional planning. These are good people that take great care in what they do. I think they may, who knows, they may, I'm guessing as to what happened, but I tend to go with our new zoning code.
I understand. And they had asked at that meeting, why didn't I just resubmit under the new zoning code? And the answer to that is I've been doing this since September, and time is money, and we're this far down the road with a plan that we feel is a good plan, a responsible plan for the township. So.
And your building separation is still there. The one thing I didn't see the place, because you're not going to have individual mailboxes in these houses.
No, that is on the plan. There'll be a mailbox kiosk in the cul-de-sac. That's a federal requirement.
Okay,
now.
That's in the kiosk. Okay.
Yeah, the kiosk will be in the cul-de-sac. It's shown on that. I think Eric's pulling it up right now.
Do you have the signing information in this as well?
Sign.
You have an oak sign out front, right?
Yeah, it's in part of the package that you have.
Okay, no divergences for the sign?
No, meet all the site triangle requirements. I did want to talk a little bit about the divergence on lot widths, side yard setbacks. As it turns out, basically, if you look at that plan, there's actually only going to be 4 or maybe 5 homes anywhere in Orange Township that are going to be able to see these lots, and that's those people on the cul-de-sac there. And even to drill down even more, there's only those folks that are going to be able to see the side yards or between the houses, because some of the houses that are out along Old State, while they'll be able to see the sides or backs of this empty house, they're not going to be able to notice the spacing. And Summerfield Village homes are 12 feet apart. They have 6-foot side yard separation. So in fact, what I'm proposing is a 40% increase over the separation between the houses that they currently have in their subdivision. So I feel like, you know, could we do 12 and a half? We could make it work, but the builders I'm speaking with would love to have a little extra room for that 3rd car garage and for, you know, just a larger footprint or, you know, more valuable home really. And yes, sir.
Can I ask, I got 2 questions for you. You mentioned the additional considerations, green space was part of that. Maybe Robin, you can help with this question. Is your allotment that you provided for green space, does it correlate to the additional considerations? Is it enough, or are you using that as, you know, is there a ratio proportion to what is allotted?
So I didn't suggest that I created more green space. What I suggested was that I was, you know, we were adding in a top lot and a gazebo and benches and public gathering space. You know, a tree preservation zone, none of those things are required. Those are amenities that we're adding to this, which, you know, would fall into that category.
And then the Glen Oak Association, I know you said you're putting a fence up there, but you're right up. Have you met with them, the Glen Oak Association? What do they have to say?
I have not met with Glen Oak. They really aren't going to be able to see this because there's a dense wall of trees between this property and theirs. And there's power lines right along the kind of just north of Mr. Gagaya's property there too. So it's open space that I don't know if it gets used all that much. It probably does, but no, I did not met them. There's no vehicular connection or path connection to that subdivision.
Just a quick note on, for you, like even for the future comments, right? Like other communities have been approved on certain, you said, right, like there's other communities have been approved on certain dimensions and stuff. So each variances is different. Each case like comes under unique factors, and the decision is based on each and every unique, you know, situation. So,
yes, and that's why it's a planned district. Straight districts are good if you have a large plot of land and you can make every single lot that's right dimensioned and everything can comply. When you have really Orange Township, other than Evans Farm, I don't think there's a lot of land left in Orange Township, so you're going to see a lot more of these infill pieces. And in fact, this is one of the larger FR1 zone areas in Orange Township remaining anyway, especially once the parkland is all dedicated down to Tail Canyon. You know, that, in my mind, that was also development land that's not around, so there aren't any very large parcels anymore. So, but you're absolutely right. A planned district helps to try to fix where you can't comply 100% with a straight zone. So you come in with an actual development plan that gets stamped and approved, and you have to build for that. That's part of the zone. I'll just go through a couple more comments that I had, if you don't mind. Other than the divergence of the side yard setbacks, this new design does comply largely with the township's new neighborhood zone classification, including density, with the exception of lot depths and lot areas. But it's a hardship because the dimensions of the property are only 303 feet deep, 302, 303 feet deep. So we would make the lots deeper if we could, but this is the property that we have. The last exhibit in your binders shows a map that I put together. It lists the actual lot acreages for all of the lots that are adjacent to this property. And in fact, all of the lots along my south property line are larger than the 2 lots that are immediately adjacent to my property on the cul-de-sac. And they're larger than every lot west of the property. The west lots within Summerfield Village are 60 to 65 feet wide, or 70 feet minimum. They have lots that are 115 feet deep and greater, and we're 120 feet and greater. So again, as far as the character goes, I feel like this meets the character as well as anything as it relates to Summerfield Village. It's the only other subdivision that's going to be able to see this, unless you drive through the development, you won't be able to really see it.
Are you, what's the average width of the house that you're planning? Because those are mostly two-car garage, you're planning three-car garage, garage here. So what is the average width of the house that you're planning?
Well, they will most likely max out the available space. So if we use 10-foot side yards, the houses will likely be 50 feet wide, including the garage. And if we can't get the variance, they'll be 45 feet wide, including the garage. And again, the builders that I'm talking to, that extra 5 feet makes a difference because a lot of people in this price point want to have a 3-car garage and a larger home, and they're limited on what they can build on a 45-foot envelope. Is it required? It's not a requirement. It's just an ask that I think will make a better project. And again, the only homes that are going to be impacted by it are folks whose homes are 12 feet apart. So it shouldn't be, I shouldn't say it shouldn't be perceived as a hardship for them, but as I look at this, I think that I'm providing 40% greater spacing between the houses than the only homes that are going to be able to see it. At the previous hearing, there was a lot of discussion about traffic, and nobody here is going to deny that there's a traffic problem on the state. I live on Orange Road, I deal with it every single day, and I get it. But the problem exists today. It's been there for years and years and years, and statistically, based on the TIA that I submitted, which is in your packet, the 20 new homes on this development have no impact. Statistically, no impact. And you have a report there, but the good news is that Delaware County has been working on an engineering plan to widen South Old State in this area to 5 lanes. They're in phase 2 design with a projected construction year of 2028. So that would provide 2 lanes north, 2 lanes south, and center lane for turn lanes. So this kind of anticipates that that'll be in place there. Interestingly, based on the Delaware County design criteria, even if that widening wasn't happening, this project, based on their criteria, still wouldn't require a turn lane.
Does that widening impact your plans for your front
If my plans reflected, I have plans from the county, so I show kind of future conditions on the plan. There's going to be a sidewalk on I think I misspoke in the last thing. There's going to be a sidewalk, 5-foot wide sidewalk on our side of Old State, and a 10-foot wide bike path on the east side of Old State. And our sidewalks would tie into the sidewalk on Old State. So with the summary, I respectfully request your approval for the zoning application, and happy to answer any questions on that.
Have you looked at the topographical map to see which way the plant drains? Does it drain towards the east?
We have not, the township does not have engineering staff, or that's really not part of our review. Delaware County Engineering will review the drainage as part of the review process.
And I did meet with the county engineer and went through the plans, and we devised a drainage pattern that shows up on these plans that basically will take the entire site into the pond, which is going to be up against South Old State, and then divert it up to a culvert that goes under South Old State Road, maybe 150 feet north of our property line. And their letter, they recommended or suggested in their letter that you have in your file that this was a feasible design based on their.
Are you grading towards east?
Yes. Yeah, everything will drain west and east. Yes. There's an existing drainage pattern issue on the north property and on the south property, actually, just existing conditions. And we would alleviate both of those because we'll be taking any part of this property that currently drains off-site, won't do that anymore. It will be all collected on site, brought into our retention pond, and then just discharged out in the pipe.
Robin, all you have is so far, is only one that I haven't seen this is Orange Township Fire. Correct? Delaware County Engineering, which controls all of the roads and the traffic, not Orange Township. Delaware County, which controls the water and the retention ponds, that's their issue as well. So they've seen all this, they've already seen the plans.
That's correct. I mean, and they have provided in your packet, letters of general feasibility to Mr. Wicks as part of his application. They have not done a rigorous review of exactly, all the final engineering plans. That comes after zoning approval.
Okay. Any other further comments? We'll give other chance. I'll give the people that are here a chance as well.
If you don't mind, you can go first. Go ahead.
Just one question I had. Did you study a plan that would have complied with the setbacks, and how would that have impacted this plan?
Yeah, the issue with, if we complied 100% with the neighborhood zone, we'd have a road with lots on one side of the road, which economically isn't feasible. It just, you basically have a single loaded road, which, it's hard to divide the cost of that expense over half the lots. We'd get half the lot count.
How about just side yard setback, or side yard setback?
Well, again, side yard setback, we're just asking for that so that we can build a bigger home on the property.
How many less houses would there be if you met the side yard setback requirement?
We wouldn't change the plan, we would just change the side yard setback. So instead of 50-foot building below, there'd be a 45-foot building below.
Going back to the traffic study, I read the traffic study. How many, you're talking about 20 new homes. Potentially there's going to be two drivers per house. So you're talking about 40 new drivers on this road. Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum. You're talking about no traffic light, no preventing left turns. We obviously are waiting for Orange Township Fire Department's study. I realize that we haven't had any major significant accidents on Orange Road, but that is going to be hard for people going northbound to turn left. It's going to be hard for people coming out here development to turn left. Not to mention you have a hill there on Coltsbridge. Two questions would be, even when all those people come into your development, will that put them over the threshold for the right turn only capacity? And B, are you going to have frustrated residents once people move into that area because they cannot get to work or get out of the development turning left or turning right at that peak times a day?
Well, to answer your first question, I guess I'm not real sure what the first question was, but yeah,
the first question was, you're adding 40 new drivers.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Does that not put you over the ratio and the threshold for what the county says is?
No, the county signed off on the traffic study that I submitted, and based on they have metrics that they have to follow. And based on those metrics, it doesn't meet the criteria internally, it doesn't meet the requirements.
What about you right now? Are you concerned about potential residents coming in here?
Of course, yeah, I would be. So far, all the people that have seen this haven't expressed any concerns whatsoever as far as buying lots and building houses here.
Are they residents local to here?
I don't know. Some of them might be. We obviously want to be safe, but we do have the sight distance. And it's really only a couple times a day where the traffic backs up. I noticed the guy talked about a time where he's trying to turn trying to turn left during rush hour. It took him 2 songs through his app. But I've done it several times, had no issues. It's just a matter of people. It's primarily traffic backing up going southbound to Orange Road, and they're limited by the 1 lane at Orange Road that then opens up to 2 lanes going south.
Any concerns with fire? When that gets backed up 32 times a day, it's I know that backs up sometimes all the way back to the elementary school entrance or even the center road.
Yeah, there's always concerns about that. When the fire truck is navigating through the road to get to a fire, people get out of the way. That's typically just how that works.
But now there's no room for them to go.
But again, we can't control the traffic. Traffic isn't really a zoning criteria anyway. I do share your concerns. I do. I think that people that are going to buy the 20 homes in here are going to understand the situation that they've got. They're going to be able to see it. The roads will be in before they buy a house, so they'll be able to see what the issue looks like. And by then, we'll be a year closer to the road widening project.
Thank you.
Sure.
What else? Well, we'll certainly take any comments from the audience. Keep your comments to 3 minutes, and try not to repeat someone who's already been up and has said the same thing. come up and introduce the name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Brian Hunt, and I'm legal counsel for Amanda Blythe, who resides next door to this property. This application asks the township to rezone approximately 8.34 acres from FR1 to SFPRD in order to allow a 21 lot subdivision at a proposed density of 2.5 dwelling units per acre. The central problem with this application is straightforward. It does not conform to the guidance and recommendations set forth in the township's comprehensive plan for the specific area. The township's comprehensive plan, which is intended to be the land use policy for the township and to guide this commission's decisions, places this site in sub-area 10, the central residential heartland, which specifically recommends two things that matter here. First, it says the township should continue large lots of 1 or more acres running on South Old State Road. Second, for the remaining infill lands, it recommends planned developments of 2 units per acre if served by centralized sanitary sewer. This proposal does neither of those things. Instead, it asks for 2.5 dwelling units per acre, exceeding the comprehensive plan's recommendation. Delaware Regional Planning staff recognized exactly that and recommended denial on that basis, while expressly stating that single-family use at a lower density would be appropriate. That observation and recommendation matters. Under the township's zoning framework, rezonings are supposed to be evaluated for consistency with the comprehensive plan. The current zoning resolution states that township boards may refer to township plans and recommendations when reviewing proposals, and the previous approval criteria, which this application is supposed to be reviewed under, specifically asks whether the proposed development is in conformity with the comprehensive plan, and whether it advances the general welfare of the township in the immediate vicinity. The applicant is also asking for multiple divergences tied directly to overdensity. Delaware County Regional Planning noted that the density increase from 2 to 2.5 units per acre does not adhere to the plan and specifically recommended reducing the number of lots. Planning staff further noted that at least one of the requested setback-related divergences may not even be necessary if the minimum density were met. In other words, the requested deviations are not incidental or result of hardship or difficulty. They are symptoms of trying to force too many lots on the site that this township's own planning documents envisioned for more modest development. There's also been discussion this evening about the new neighborhood district and how that allows for 2.5 dwelling units per acre. I would respectfully urge you not to pay attention to that standard. This application is not submitted under the new code or for neighborhood district standards. There are other standards that would apply, for instance, the minimum lot size of 9,450 square feet, which would change the analysis. This application should be reviewed under the old standards, which again require analyzing and determining whether or not this application conforms with the comprehensive plan. Just to be clear, no one is arguing that nothing should be built here. Rather, the expectations are that development on this site should respect the township's adopted plans and policies, the character of South Old State Road, and the surrounding neighborhoods. Even the new zoning resolution reinforces that the township's districts are intended to implement the goals of the comprehensive plan, and the newer residential flexibility must still remain compatible with existing development patterns and the comprehensive plan. For those reasons, we respectfully ask this commission to follow the recommendation of regional planning, to follow the comprehensive plan, which you're supposed to follow, and recommend denial of the rezoning as submitted. Thank you.
Brian Sush, 2230 Jackson Court. I'm the president of the Enclave Avenue HOA, which is cat corner across Old South State from this. I'm a registered architect and did 18 years service at Westerville's Planning Commission. I'm going to make my points on this two different points. One, if I was looking at this from a planning commission perspective, and one obviously being an adjacent neighbor over to this. The first being has to do with the application in general from a planning commission standpoint. As I think I started when I mentioned last time. In my 18 years on planning commission, I don't think I ever had an application that came before me that asked for variances for every known dimension that I could put across the site. For each parcel, depth, the width, side yard. This is purely a case of just trying to put too much density on a property. When I look at it from a personal standpoint of someone who has to drive on Old State every day, also looking, and I looked at the zoning map up and down, all the way up and down with any of these other FR1 properties, or any even communities and neighborhoods that have been built. They all have traffic choice. I can get out here, hey, the roads, South State in the morning is crazy. I can come and get out another way. There is not another location that has single point access with this type of density. You have to go clear to the end of Orange Township to get up to Hidden Cove to find, and that doesn't nearly the number of homes that we're talking here. I agree that certain properties have a right to be developed. They don't have a right to be developed when the density clearly does not meet the intended use. And I've never seen an application, like I said, in my 18 years, that is asking for more density. When I heard that we were dropping from 24 to 20 to less homes, I'm like, oh good, we'll start to see. And all of the dimensional are still asking for variances across everything. The other thing I find very interesting is the one group that hasn't been met with yet, and you're taking everyone's time here to have another meeting, fire department. How are you going to move a fire truck on and off this? It's impossible. It's not. They're not going to approve this, so you're going to have to come back with less density, and you're going to have to go through this again. So I highly agree with staff that you certainly should, if you're going to proceed with this, put that down as a condition, because you won't get past it.
It can't get passed without the fire department.
Yeah.
It can't.
You look at this road, there's no way a fire truck is making maneuvers. I work with fire trucks and maneuverability and all the projects I work with on a daily basis. This would be one. It would not work. So purely from a standpoint, from a planning commission standpoint, it's easy to see why they recommend denial on this in a number of ways. I've heard the applicant also talk about getting density bonuses. Let's start by meeting any of the dimensional requirements for a basic site. Also, just the fact that, well, we're screening from the neighbors, no one's going to see it. Is that really how we're going about approving new communities that are going in? Is that, well, no one's going to see it, so let's not worry about it? This is just a plain fact of trying to put too much on a lot that is not intended for it, and that's even before taking the conditions of the hardships this is going to create for everyone that has to drive up and down Old State, let alone the folks that live in this community.
Good evening, Peter DeGaia. I'm at 6976 South Old State. I'm the next door neighbor to this property. To the north, I share the longest property line with this property. I have a number of comments to make. Tonight you've heard the only homes that can be impacted or see it are in the subdivision surrounding us. I beg to differ. I can see the majority of this property right outside of my master bedroom window and everywhere I walk on my property. So there are many other properties being affected by this. Many of my neighbors from our FR1 zone neighborhood are here tonight to talk as well. And I had two other neighbors that couldn't make the meeting and gave me their notes to say to you as well. So I hope you give me a few extra minutes just for that. My family and I have been living on this property for 21 years. I'm very familiar with the property in question, as well as the neighborhood, the traffic issues, etc. When I looked at this, and I concur with the last speaker that said when we heard that there was going to be less houses, we were like, okay, this is great, let's take a look. This is not a significant change to what was already presented. There are 21 houses being proposed. I believe this is a mathematical misrepresentation of the math involved here. If you take 8.34 times 2.5, you actually get 20 total houses, not 21. He's rounding up. Then if you also, actually the last speaker who was up here in October at the meeting pointed out that, and Mr. Wicks here just pointed out on record as well, that he's aware that the front half of this property is going to be chopped off for Old State's expansion. He's going to lose more acreage. And the last speaker was up in October at this meeting and said, and I quote, that would be 7.8 acres that would remain at that point. So if you take 7.8 times 2.5, you get 19 total houses now. not 21. So I would, if you're going to prove this, at least use the correct math, and he actually knows the correct math, but he obviously knows that he's going to lose frontage. There are a number of issues I have, not just with the plan itself, which were not totally reflected in what the comments were, but I have more zoning issues with this that I'd like to address. On page 12 of his proposal, section 10.06, subsection C, number 2, there's two misrepresentations of key points factually. Number 1, and I quote the proposal, it says it's, quote, consistent with comprehensive land use plan, which other people have already got up and spoken about. I won't get into the details of that have already been mentioned, but what I will say is that there are several pages, page 76, 96, 104, and 116 of the comprehensive use plan, as well as I also pulled up the official Orange Township zoning districts map, and it's also in violation of that. If you pull back out and actually look at our neighborhood, we're an FR1 zone neighborhood. This property is not on the edge of our district. It's actually in the middle. Okay, he's proposing to change the zoning in the middle of our FR1 zone neighborhood, not the end piece. He's not the end piece. There's a reason he doesn't have a second egress. It's because he's not the end piece. He'd have to go through one of our yards. So a lot of the issues you're seeing related to the property dimensions, as well as no egress, and other issues are because of these issues. So the second point I'd like to make, and again, this is in reference to page 12, quote, it's surrounded by single-family residential developments of similar lots, sizes, and densities. I think you're going to hear from a number of speakers that live in this neighborhood. We're on FR1 properties. These are not, what he's proposing are not similar lot sizes or densities from our FR1 current zoning. This is not what it is. Me and my neighbors, we moved here to this FR1 zone neighborhood specifically not to live in a subdivision. That is why we bought these properties. We could have all chosen from the many wonderful subdivision homes available in Lewis Center to live in any of those. We all chose this FR1 zone neighborhood because of its zoning. Just 5 days ago, the new zoning resolution went into effect, and here we are 5 days later already proposing to blow our neighborhood to pieces. So I'd really like us to sit back and think about the precedent that you're setting here. This doesn't just apply to our neighborhood you'd be destroying, this applies to all FR1 zone neighborhoods going forward and all of those properties. You are setting a precedent. He's not asking only to blow up our entire neighborhood zoning, he's also asking to not even comply with the new zoning that he's requested. He's asking for variances on top of that. And he even goes on to blame the property itself for it, and quote, its restricted dimensions of the underlying parcel, which he knew full well during due diligence before he bought the property. This is not news. He's trying to cram too much into a small space. There's not a problem with the parcel, there's a problem with the proposal. On page 15, he also goes in and says that it's not out of character for the immediate area. Well, yes it is. We're FR1s. It's completely out of character for our area in the immediate area. He's in the middle of us, not on the end. If you could pull up the map for 2715 Tucker Trail, I would appreciate
You have
that.
a page? Do you have a page on here?
No, it's not a page on there. I mean an actual map.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can pull up the auditor's site if you give me a minute.
Yeah.
What was the house number?
2715 Tucker Trail. Just zoom out a little bit more. Yeah, that's fun. This house is currently being listed on the market as we speak. It's a nice house, by the way, and whoever you are that lives at 2715 Tucker Trail, you're welcome for the free advertising. I'd like to point out that is there any reason that I can't buy this property and propose to put a 21-unit condo building onto it? Of course I can't, but I would only need 3 variances to do it. and I could put a 21-unit condo building out here. Of course, that's ridiculous in the middle of a neighborhood that's not built for that density. However, there are apartments directly across the street from it. It's not out of character with that area. How can somebody put this dense of a property in FR1s when it's only supposed to be one house per acre? That's all we're asking, is that we be treated the same as folks in the subdivisions for our neighborhood. We moved on to an FR1 for a reason, and that reason is being blown to bits by this in the middle of our neighborhood. I will just read to you two neighbors that asked me to speak on their behalf as well. Dennis and Shelley Such. Dennis used to be on zoning here in Orange Township. He lives at 7110 South Old State Road. He said, quote, "We are in agreement with you, Peter, and totally oppose this. Please tell them you have our permission." I also received an email from Len and Marie Heather at 7180 South Old State, and I quote, "Unfortunately, we can't attend the township meeting tomorrow, but fully support your position against the zoning change. We moved here for privacy, and we pay a lot of property taxes for the privilege. All there has been since we moved here are zoning changes to cram in increasingly dense developments. Please feel free to use our names and back in your position. Thanks." In short, the map is wrong. He's misrepresenting the surrounding properties, which are FR1s, not subdivision properties. In fact, if you go back to the map of the actual proposal, yeah, that's fine. I actually got a ruler out and measured it. And did you know that over 80% of the borders of his property are not subdivision houses? They're not actually subdivision houses. There's only 2 houses that actually border, and the rest are FR1 roads or trees. There's not actually other subdivision houses. So 80% of his border is not actually subdivision houses. It's FR1 mostly. So I'm going to remind you that this is being recorded tonight, and other FR1s are going to be watching this, and you guys will be setting a precedent going forward for how FR1s are treated in Orange Township. We all will be watching. I'm sure some of my neighbors are about to get up and speak and let you know as well. But we all, my family as well as the other FR1s that I spoke to in our neighborhood, all strongly urge each and every one of you on this board to vote no on this. Deny this, please. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Christina DeFranco. I live on P377 Trillium Drive in Summerville Village. And I feel like everyone's done a pretty good job of, the zoning itself, the zoning board. But I also want to think about the community as a whole, which is we don't have the infrastructure to support 40 extra drivers and 20 more houses. This area is saturated. Old State Road can't support more drivers, and I feel like that was very blasé to say. And it's going to have more traffic soon when we fix the overpass for Orange. It's going to have a lot more diversion going up that way too that I don't think has been considered as well. And most importantly to me, these houses are going to go in my kids' school district, and Glen Oak is at 100% capacity. And I feel like it would be irresponsible to stuff at least 2 kids per household into a school district that can't put these kids anywhere else. All this other growth we see has schools that are being built to the north, to the west, because they have the space. Glen Oak doesn't have that space. The only thing we can do is just put more kids in the classroom. And I really feel like it would be irresponsible to my children's education to make more kids in the classroom on burden the already burdened system at this moment. I just don't feel like we have the resources to support 40 drivers, 20 houses yet. This is not the area, and this is not the parcel for it. We have plenty of other growth, and plenty of other people can live in this community and have the resources for it. And this will come at the expense of all of the landowners here, all of the students here, and my kids especially. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susie Ross. I live at 6792 South Old State Road. I agree wholeheartedly with all of the previous comments, and I hope you'll take them seriously, take them to heart, and really base your decision with the weight that goes with that information, because it's valuable information. I want to say I'm intimately acquainted with this property. This was my mom's property. And if the plan does not show where the road widening will go, it really affects the green space. That pond is wet halfway up to the road now, up to South Old State. And there, you won't put any trees along it the way it is unless it's rebuilt out there. And once you, where the pin is out there right now for the widening, it locks off part of the pond. And so you're gonna have to make the pond even smaller. There may not even be any room for, and they talk about that pond will take all of the drainage for the entire lot, all the runoff from all those houses. And that it will divert the water to a culvert underneath South Old State Road, 150 feet north. And that is my front yard. That culvert goes right through the middle of my front yard. I'm in the dip in the road. And right now, that culvert is a failure. And they, of course, are going to do nothing about it because the road's going to be widened. I'm going to lose between 15 and 20 feet of my front yard. All of us along South Old State are having our properties ruined by the widening of the road in one way or another. It might help traffic, but it might not, because unless they fix it down at the corner, it's not going to. I will tell you that Mr. DeGuy's driveway you can't go out of my mom's property, this property. You can see to get out. You can't see to get out of his. And this would make it even worse because we have a subdivision north of us and those people won't let us out of our driveway. Traffic is backed up from Orange Road to past my driveway every single morning. And it's backed up. It doesn't matter what's going on at that intersection, it's backed up. This will just make that worse. And the accidents along there are horrible. Colts Bridge, I won't even go there. I would just like you to really listen. It's your task to weigh the information you've heard tonight from everyone, and then also weigh it against the code and against the comprehensive plan. And you can't just say, well, I'm going to take the code over the comprehensive plan. You have to look at both. And you cannot break our comprehensive plan. That is what we live by. This entire area, these parcels, there aren't very many areas in our township left like this. We have long, larger parcels. And it's because, Peter's right, it's because that's what we want. That's what we wanted when we moved in. And if we're already being changed in every way, this is putting a square peg in a round hole. And whenever you have that many divergences, your answer has to be no.
Anyone else, please?
Yeah, good evening. My name's Eric Kaiser, and I live on the cul-de-sac 2092. My wife's name's Michelle. We've been there since 2006. I'm a veteran, 39.7 years in the military, and I have never seen anything like this. I've been in battle plans in Afghanistan, Iraq, you name it, I've been there, and that just bewilders me. When I first came here and I came back from Iraq, I met the original owner because he was a World War II vet, and he wanted to meet me. He talked about the wars and stuff like that. Very interesting guy. And he says he has a Jeep. He said, would you like to drive this Jeep? I said, yes. So I drove the Jeep up and down this territory thinking to myself, there's absolutely no way that you could put anything in there. And then I see this. And I have to contemplate, do I want to live there? Because I'm going to have to put up with that noise and the jackhammers and the dust and the dirt and all that stuff. I take walks on it. I'm retired, so I have a lot of time on my hands. So I walk all around these paths, and I'm looking, and I said, there's absolutely no way. And those people that I know, they'll see it. Oh yeah, they can see it just as good as I can. It's a big mess. You know, a legal officer in the military is called a jack officer. He once told me, Eric, he says, Eric, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else that'd like to speak?
While we're waiting, I'm going to ask a question. I believe your plan states that you are looking to start construction within the next 2 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be the intent.
So you'll likely still be building when construction along Old State is starting as well?
Under that timeline, yes, that sounds right.
And then one more quick question. Without doing the math here in front of me, how many acres is your biggest lot in Rose School?
square feet, not including the existing home.
Are you losing 0.5 acres because of the road widening?
I'm sorry.
Are you losing 0.5 acres upfront because of the road widening?
This plan shows the, what the right-of-way take will be. Shows a future developed condition of Old State. But it's not currently like that right now, so we're using our entire property as our zoning calculation. That's how every property does it.
So future state of Old State, you have 8.34 acres left.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the survey, honestly. We are going to be giving up some right of way, but that's going to happen after this project, after we're developed. When you do density calculations, you do it on the gross acreage. Gross acreage of this parcel is 8.33 acres.
But 0.5 acres will be lost to the road widening.
It's nowhere near 5.5 acres.
Yeah, potentially. So, density is calculated per gross density. It's outlined in the zoning resolution, which is actually outlined in Article 10. So it's in the development text for this district. It's the current gross acreage of the parcels in question. So the calculation that we're doing now is the calculation of the parcels as they exist today. I think we can speculate as to the amount of acreage that would be lost in the future and do that rough math, but I don't think the county has done final engineering for South Old State Road, so I don't think anybody can say with certainty that it's going to be, X.
Have you talked to all the Tangy School District? They give you an assessment?
I talk to them regularly. I live right across the street from Orange High School. They don't seem to have, they recognize that there are, issues with certain schools, but it's a moving target. People obviously grow up and move from elementary school to middle school and things like that, and their comment to me was it's manageable, and something as small as this, it wouldn't have an impact. Now, I know people are going to shake their head at that, but that's the comment that I heard from the school. I'm not proposing a 400 lot subdivision that's going to require a new school. Is public comment closed?
The comments closed. Bob, I got questions for you. The current divisions that are along Old State, the zoning code was written future. Will the zoning code match up with the comprehensive plan at some point?
Ideally, yes. That being said, the currently adopted comprehensive land use plan is the one that we have today. That was, there was a public input process on that. The trustees approved it. We can speculate about what a future land use plan might look at, what it might look like in the future. The numbers may be different, the recommendations may be different, but the one that you need to take into account is the currently adopted version.
All right, next question. Since the zoning code, as I always understood, was for the future, as things get turned over, redeveloped, past some of our lifetime, certainly past mine, are those neighborhoods, Abbey Knoll and such, just using that for just because I know the name, like a lot of them there, would all those be neighborhood zones in the new zoning code?
A property owner always has the option to request rezoning to a neighborhood zone or any other district in the zoning resolution at that time. As part of our process of adopting new zoning code, we purposely did not rezone existing properties. So
right.
The SFPRDs that are, generally the single-family neighborhoods in this area, those stay in place as they are today.
No, I knew that. That was the main issue, is that things weren't going to get rezoned because of the zoning code.
Correct.
And that was the main issue, that wasn't going to change, and that's great. Of course, it couldn't get changed. But I'm just thinking about future. And what was the reason that this didn't come in under the neighborhood versus the SFPRD? Was it because of when you started it?
Yeah, it was the timing. That was only, so when I started the process in September, I came up and met with Rob and I said, when do you think the new zoning code will be approved? And he says, well, I told people last year it would be the end of the year. So it took, 3 years, maybe 4, to get.
Depends on when we start.
And I didn't want to wait because I had to close on the land. I closed on the land in September and immediately started the zoning process. Interestingly, Ms. Ross is the daughter of the seller, and she got her money and cashed out of this deal. Now she wants to control how I develop it. So that's a little angering, but her comments about the pond being smaller, yeah, we show on our plan that we're going to regrade the pond, and it's going to be designed in such a way that it accepts the entire project, and then goes north and into the culvert where the county engineer already approved that concept. Obviously, engineering drawings have to be approved in order to make sure everything does it, but there's about 10-foot fall from where this pond is to where that culvert is. So there's plenty of elevation difference.
Well, we still trust Delaware County water engineers that they're gonna take care of those problems.
Well, it's all part of their widening plan. They recognize there's some older infrastructure that needs replacement, and it certainly will be. I did want to talk about the fire department. So the fire department, I did talk to the fire department. I didn't formally submit a plan. What he said was, quote, if you develop the project to Delaware County engineering standards, we'll approve it. So we're designed to the Delaware County engineering standards. Cul-de-sac is the sufficient radius to get a turning truck through there. We'll have appropriate signage in there, and we'll have an intersection with Southwell State that's designed for public standards.
Well, Robin, I think we've seen this project that's raised that dilemma between the comprehensive plan and new zoning, which is not something that we, I think, anticipated. I certainly did not personally. Was it anticipated?
Well, I think, whenever you adopt anything different, whether it's, I don't know that I've ever seen a zoning change and a land use plan be adopted at exactly the same time.
Right.
There's almost always a lag, whether it's the comprehensive plan that changes first, So if you think this old zoning code that we had was last comprehensively addressed in 1993, you can consider that out of date with a land use plan that was adopted in 2018. Things are always changing and evolving. What I would say is the comprehensive land use plan is it's ambitious. It looks towards the future. It helps make recommendations for land use decisions, and that is the currently adopted policy of Orange Township. It's a recommendation. It's not necessarily binding. In terms of the zoning code is these are the rules that somebody has to follow if they're developing their property. And the request tonight is for the single-family plan residential zone. Those are the standards that you need to judge by. You are allowed to grant divergences from that at your discretion. And again, this commission's job is to recommend land use changes. The ultimate decision comes down to the Orange Township Board of Trustees. But there's no scientific way to balance all of this, is what I'm saying.
Well, this got caught in the timing with respect to when he needed to take care of this and get it started versus when the new zoning, which are the rules for Orange Township for the future. And the comprehensive plan, which I've dealt with for many years.
Yeah,
we talked about.
We talked about, holding off and coming in under the new zoning. We talked about that right after our last hearing. And we said, well, if it's approved in just January, I would probably consider that, but it got tabled to late January for even the first review by the trustees, and ultimately didn't get approved until February. And we just felt like the plan's going to be the same, whether it's under that zoning or this zoning. Although because this older zoning has more divergences, that wouldn't be divergences under the new zoning. This is essentially the reason why I just stuck with it like this. I would like to make one more point. I hope I didn't misspeak, but if I did, my intent of saying that very few people will have a view of this development, what I think I said or what I meant to say was that there's only a couple houses that are going to be able to see between the houses and notice that there's a 20-foot separation versus a 25-foot separation. And that really will only be the people that live on the cul-de-sac there. Certainly, other residents around the neighborhood are going to be able to see the development. They're just not going to notice that difference in the side yards.
And as you spoke earlier, you said that if we forced that issue, that the houses would get not as wide, and so it wouldn't give the builders as much room.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
You go to 45 feet versus 50. That's not the kind
That's
of
right.
you said.
Yeah, if that's a hardship for the township to get behind that, again, the only people that will be affected by the spacing between the houses are the folks in Summerfield Village who have 12 feet between houses. That's why I brought that up. It wasn't that this is going to be on an island and nobody can see it. That wasn't the intent of my comment. But if it becomes a problem, we'll go back to 12.5 feet. I just think it's going to make for a different level of housing that goes in there.
The kind of way I see it, that's kind of where the zoning board is, in my opinion. It may be that dimension, maybe one of the most critical is that do we force this issue and say we want to limit the size of these houses to comply with the width? Or do we?
I humbly believe not just that one factor. I get it, like about the fire department and the Delaware Company.
Well, but I already know they can't be approved on fire department. That's not going to happen. Nothing can get built or approved until they sign off on it. So that's already a done deal, either with or without. It'll be out of our hands. So I'm not concerned about that.
But I just heard he said like if he follows the code, the fire department says like they will approve it. So what I am trying to say is like humbly my 2 cents. Like I hear the protocol, like if the code is approved, like reach the certain departments will approve, right? The fire, let's talk about the fire department, they approve it. So I believe the responsibility coming to us for Orange Township, like a public voice. We are looking at all the factors, like hearing about the traffic, the school. I understand, we have to, scientifically we cannot solve everything, but I think it's also that's why, this becomes a public voice. Like we have to consider every single factor for the residents who's already living here.
I agree with you that if we can adjust the site so that then with the new code, we would be 99%.
We would be, in my opinion, more solid
on the site.
On doing that.
Why are you pushing the 2.5 over to just pack more houses in?
I take offense to the way you phrase that, but no, not to pack more houses in. It makes it a more viable development.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. Is the reason why you're going for the 2 versus the 2.5 is because you're trying to have more lots available for sale then?
Yeah, and I've spoken on this before. The cost to develop this project and build a cul-de-sac with all the utilities is going to be the same, whether I have 24 houses or 20 houses or I have 50
So at the end of the day.
So you end up having to spread that cost over fewer houses, so the prices get jacked up and the houses become more out of reach.
So at the end of the day, has this commission recommended to you to lower the number of houses to match the 2.0 and also to abide by the zoning code of the setbacks? Would you have any opposition to doing that?
I would say that I'm going to proceed with my current proposal.
Because if you wanted to, you could resubmit all this under the new zoning code. I mean, I'm not saying you could do, but I'm just with respect to decision we have to make, you could resubmit this and you're really already there.
That's the point I was trying to make earlier. Like the plan won't change, but then I have to go back through and pay fees again. And
Right. I'm not asking you to do that at all.
No, this is the proposal.
I'm just trying to say that's kind of where we're at. It's more a matter of timing, when it was done versus now.
This is the proposal that I came in with. A lot of thought was given behind it. I'm a civil engineer. I've done land development and civil engineering for 35 years. I designed a lot of the developments in Delaware County back when I was a consultant engineer. This is a responsible plan. I think it meets the intent of the new zoning code, and it's not out of line of recent projects that have been zoned, some of which are over 2.5 units to the acre under the old code. So it's, you know, it's not asking for a lot, and in the spirit of density credits, density bonuses, you know, we decided, and this was based on something I heard at a public hearing, that if you throw in a couple amenities that will benefit the residents of that neighborhood, we should be open-minded to some density credits. So a 70-foot wide lot is your new standard. What's not a new standard is the 10-foot side yard versus the 12.5-foot side yard. It's still 12.5. I'm asking for the divergence so I can put a different product on the houses, or on the lots. But if you were to tell me that that's the sticking point, I would concede that. It's just, like I said, the downside is we're going to be stuck with a different housing, more limited housing stock that we develop for plans.
What is the average size of the home?
Well, the zoning requires 1,000 feet. I put 1,500 feet in there, but I can't see anything in this price point being less than probably 2,300 square feet, and probably much larger than that.
Yeah. And the largest is going to be 4,000.
I beg your pardon?
The largest on that, largest property. In your village, you said something, what's the low end, what's the high end?
The high end size.
Square footage.
Well, they're going to, I mean, the builder's going to build whatever, the biggest house they can fit on these lots. So if you restrict the building envelope, they're going to build a smaller house on it. So if we, the front lot depth and the rear setback are all set in stone, but there's, you know, there's quite a bit of space in there. The other thing that a lot of people in this market are looking for is outdoor living spaces. They like to have a nice patio and pool and a gazebo and things like that. And so these lots, you know, they have enough room for that with a nice sized house. The market seems to be trending towards smaller lots with bigger houses on them. And I talk to builders and work with builders all the time, and they all tell me the same thing, that this can't be the first time you're hearing that. I'm not making this up. But we want to build something that Orange Township can be proud of, and it's going to look like everything else that's around it. And our building standards, our architectural standards are identical to or greater than those of Summerfield Village. And the houses are going to be of similar design, sizes, and larger potentially. They're going to be spaced a little bit further apart. It's going to be a rare opportunity to have a new road, a new development in Orange Township off of Old State, because there hasn't been one in a while. I'm currently building condos on Old State down by the Innfair Trail right now. And so we're excited to be able to put a new product in that part of Old State. You know, that's another infill piece.
Do you realize that the new one being built right now?
I beg your pardon?
This one being built south of State at Orange Road. Right now.
Yeah, that's not mine. Of course. Yeah. we already have houses in there.
So there's more houses.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
So to remind everyone, again, this is the recommending vote after the zoning commission makes its vote. It will proceed to the Board of Township Trustees. The trustees will schedule a hearing within 45 days or so. It's 30 days from when they receive their decision, so that date will be set at their next regular meeting, which would be next week. As to the decision here tonight, the commission has three options. You can recommend approval, you can recommend approval with modifications, or you can recommend denial. You have those same motions in front of you.
To be clear, you said you wouldn't be open to changing your plan.
I'm not going to agree to make substantive changes right now. I think it'd be counterintuitive to do that at this point.
Did you vote yes for this? No? See if anybody else does. I would.
I didn't understand.
You want to read something? We're good.
I want to read
Go ahead.
denial.
That's fine.
Make a motion.
So just read this one.
Yeah, read the whole thing.
I hereby recommend the Board of Township Trustees the denial of zoning application slash ZON-25-07 of Real Property Design and Development LLC, the pages which are stamped, received with Orange Township zoning, requesting the rezoning of 8.34 plus minus acres from farm residential FR-1 to single family plan residential district SFPRD, including requested divergence upon finding that it is not in the interest of public convenience, comfort, prosperity, or general welfare, or sufficiently in accordance with the comprehensive plan.
I second the motion.
Motion for denial made by Ms. Sundar, seconded by Mr. Puckett. Those voting, Mr. McNulty,
No.
Mr. Vandermoor, Ms. Sundar,
Yes.
Mr. Puckett,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Motion is for denial of the 3 votes. We have a few other administrative items.
Okay.
We do need to discuss the meeting schedule, which was near the beginning of the meeting.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Is it in the,
Mr. McNulty, if we can pause the sidebar conversations until after.
Go ahead, let's finish it. We got schedule.
Well, we did send out the meeting schedule digitally to you. We've been kind of using that as our rough guidepost, but we'll want to formalize that. We'll need a motion and a second for the approval of the 2026 meeting schedule.
Go ahead. I move that we approve the 2026 meeting schedule.
second?
Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Mr. Vandermoor?
Yes.
Ms. Sundar?
Yes.
Mr. Puckett?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
And then we have 3 sets of meeting minutes. That's October 14th, October 28th, and November 18th. You can approve those all in one motion. You don't have to vote on them individually unless you would like to pull them out and do it in separate motions.
Can I just clarify one thing? We can abstain, right?
You can abstain.
Okay.
If you, I should also clarify, you can also vote yes. You're just approving the record. You don't necessarily have to have been there for that meeting, but if you were not at that meeting and you feel more comfortable abstaining, that is fine too.
Okay.
I move to approve the meeting minutes for October 14, 2025, October 28, 2025, and November 18, 2025 zoning meetings.
I second.
Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Mr. Vandermoor?
Yes.
Ms. Sundar?
Yes.
Mr. Puckett?
Yes.
And Mr. Garcia?
I'll abstain.
Motion carries. Have no further business, one for a motion to adjourn.
All right, you've seen the dilemma here firsthand.
You adjourn?
This.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.